Hi, I'm Izabela Wisniewska, and this is SEO in 2023.
Izabela, what's your number one SEO tip for 2023?
So my number one SEO tip is, it might be a bit controversial actually. Don't focus on the fact that we're doing SEO and build trustworthy brands and very good quality websites and then shout about it.
Okay, and shout about it. So I'll get to shouting about it in a bit and how you go about doing that. But let's start off with what you said to begin with, which is how to build a trustworthy brand. So how do you build a trustworthy brand?
So basically, if we come back to the roots of SEO a little bit, it might be a bit easier for me because when I started, I was kind of like a post-penguin and post-panda bunch of people starting with SEO. So we already started kind of moving into that direction of building very good quality content and focusing on what we actually put across to our audience. But what I mean by building trustworthy and quality brands is basically put across what you want your audience to think about you, and just think, if you think like doctor or a finance advisor, you wouldn't just go with someone who just put like a bunch of stuff that are good for Google on their website, right? You would like
Absolutely.
to go with someone trustworthy, with someone recommended, with someone with like high qualifications in those industries, right?
So how does Google determine trust?
Obviously, we've got EAT, so the quality guidelines, right?
Mm-hmm.
So expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. So that's what I said by saying shout about it. Shout about your achievements. Shout about how good you are. If you won any awards or your client won any awards, shout about it. If you're like very highly educated in your field, shout about it. By writing quality content on the subjects that are close to your industry, that's how it's basically how would people determine that you're trustworthy. I remember that was a really good one with the links that I was told when I first started. It was like, if you hang around with bad people, so like bad links, then regardless of how good you are, people will probably think that you're not so good. At least that's what my grandma used to tell me, and that's what I was told. I remember I was told that in my first SEO job. Whereas if you hang around with like good people, so good links, other people are gonna think you're good as the bunch of people you hang around. So just think alongside these lines when you try to build the brand. What people are gonna, how can you show people that you're trustworthy? Try the same ways with Google. Try showing them quality content. Try showing them how hard you've worked to come to this place, like how good your staff is, how well educated your employees are, how great they're going to be if Google shows us up in the first position, how great your company is going to be to their clients, because obviously that's what Google wants as well in the end, right? They want to show the best of the best in order for people to then come back to them and say, okay, I found those good people on Google. That means Google know what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Okay. You gotta shout about it. Yeah, you gotta build trust, but you gotta shout about it and build trust in the right places, and you gotta do it in the right way. So, what are some of the right places, the better places?
Well, so the better places, I think it will all depend on the industry. But there was very interesting talk on, I think it was last Brighton SEO, but don't quote me on that. It might be the one before, where one of the girls been showing the right places for, I think it was bikes seller, some shop selling bikes, and there was like, they went for more relevant placements of like PR releases and PR activities rather than generic ones that are just higher, like whatever we like now, domain authority or majestic trust flows, or they just went for a bit more relevant ones. But I would also say, think about where your audience is going to hang around. Where would your audience think that if they find the information in that place, that's relevant, that's trustworthy? Because we can't generalize. I can't tell you like back in the day, yeah, Wikipedia. Whoa, go for links from Wikipedia, right? This is the best. This is like this has to be that. Well, yeah, of course, go for the general trustworthy ones too, if you think that's gonna help you. But think before you start shouting about everything. Think about where your audience is gonna feel that if they find the information is gonna be trustworthy, where they start looking for it in the first place. So that's one of the ways.
Is it all about just simply analysing the audience, look who's interacting at the place that you're considering, and if the right people are talking about it in the right way, then that's the right place? Or can you actually filter the opportunities even further by applying different metrics to those different websites to determine which one is the best based upon some kind of quality or trust score?
I mean, I would go for like a mixture of those two. So yes, the first thing I would say definitely yes. Analyzing and observing your audience, I would say, is a key. But obviously, we're SEOs. We like technical. So definitely applying some scores. Like I personally like if we're talking like links and PRs, I personally like Majestic trust flows. So looking at this, it's definitely not gonna do you like bad.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't just look at those metrics in any shape or form. Doesn't matter if it's links or is it quality of content or any other stuff. I would definitely start with analyzing your audience, making sure you're showing them what they want to see, making sure that what you're putting across is actually what you're doing, because that's another thing that sometimes we like kind of or not 100%. We tend to focus so much on ranking that we don't think beyond that. We don't think like, oh, that would actually make a good tip. We think beyond the ranking because we want to rank, and yes, this is great because that's what we want to do in SEO. But we sometimes lose the thought of what's going to happen next. Are we showing the right thing for the right keyword? Is that the user intent? Is that what they want to see? And then once they land, if it's that what they want to see, are we persuading them enough? So we have to start not almost, but actually think more on overall marketing rules, let's call it, rather than just purely SEO rank and get them there. We have to think what's going to happen after we get them there. Like, how are we going to persuade them that we're the good people? Like, we're the best of the best to kind of go for. So yeah, I think that's what we're missing recently, and that's what we should start focusing going forward.
So it's certainly easier, though, to build trust if you're an existing authority in your industry. If you've got maybe existing social media accounts with loads of followers and demonstrating that you've got a decent amount of experience in that industry and perhaps written elsewhere. What happens if you're just trying to establish yourself as an authority and you haven't really done that much in the past? Where are the best places to start then?
I think you just have to kind of start going and work for it and build it up step by step, because there's no shortcuts. I'm not gonna find any shortcuts for that here. Definitely follow like the quality guidelines that are set, like for example the EAT, like, because I'm sure it's not like we just wake up one day and say like, oh right, I'm gonna start a business in XYZ. It's not like I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and say, okay, I'm gonna become a plumber and I'm going to build a website and start completely from scratch. It doesn't happen this way. So we usually do something in the field, right? We start with, I don't know, we start with the education, we start with anything, and then kind of build it up and then start a business and start working and start trading, right? So definitely start from shouting about what you've got there. Start from building quality content, quality good websites, right? Remember about the basics, which was my SEO tip in the last one, like, get your basics right and then start building up your brand's trust and your quality, basically. But you just have to build it. There's no like shortcut. There's no place where I tell you like, go there and then you're gonna get it. It just doesn't work this way, because we wouldn't, as I said, that wouldn't happen for a doctor or for like a financial advisor. These are kind of like industries where we would really look into, trustworthy, recommended people. That wouldn't happen overnight, right? So in other industries, if we really think about building a trustworthy quality brand, that won't happen overnight either. So I just think we just have to work for it.
Okay, but obviously you can't focus on building up trust if the quality of your product or your service isn't good enough, because what will happen is people will start saying negative things about you, and the reviews out there will speak more loudly than anything you can say, certainly. So where does reviews and things like that come into this?
Well, there's definitely what other people are saying about us, super important as well. I think it actually contributes into building the trust and building the quality of your brand, because, as you said, you can say anything about yourself and you probably are gonna be talking in a good ways, right? Whereas your customers are your kind of advocates, right? So you want them to kind of contribute, and so we can shout about winning the award, and we can shout about our education and how good our product is, but we need this kind of sort of encouragement from like reviews, testimonials, all over that stuff where your customers can actually say, yes, they're right, because that's how people are going to trust us, right? I don't think that would even work to build trust without a quality product and without like the encouragement of the people that already use your product, because I don't think people would trust us if we did it, if we try to do it this way.
Is there a best place to try and encourage customers to write reviews?
I honestly don't think there is a best place. I think I would just treat it, and I might be like shooting in my knee by saying this, but I honestly think we should not completely forget, but like at least partially forget that we're doing SEO. Like take care about the basics, and then try to think like your audience would think. What is the best place to put the reviews? Well, you can put them on your website, obviously, right? And you can put the testimonials on your website. But if we're talking like other places, what is the best place where your audience will trust those reviews the most? I would say, and that will also probably depend on the industry. So that's where something else, which obviously I'm an agency side, and vast majority of my career, I worked agency side. So there is a tip for other agency people, like we can't do it ourselves. We have to work with a client. So it's like if you're SEO in-house, you can't do it yourself. You have to work with the rest of the brand, client, company, whatever you want to call it, in order to really get it together and to get the quality across and build the trustworthiness. Because like SEO team or marketing team won't do it themselves, if you know what I mean. So it has to be like a joint effort, at least supposed to be a joint effort.
So let's get back to talking about the content that you're producing when you're shouting about yourself. So is there a best place to publish? Are you talking about on your own blog? Are you talking about on someone else's blog, somewhere else? And what about the style of the content? Are you talking about long articles, perhaps even being a guest on a podcast and having that transcribed? Is there any great style of content that you prefer nowadays?
I honestly, you're going to hate me, Dave. I honestly think that the mixture of all would be best. Again, what would be natural? What would happen in a natural kind of offline world? We would do mixture of these things. Obviously, the first thing we do and the easiest thing that we can do.
In a natural world, I would just want to be a guest on a podcast. I prefer that medium. So, but certain people in a natural way are going to prefer certain mediums rather than want to write articles and be on videos and be on blog.
Having your clients, let's say you prefer this, but your clients might prefer like vast majority of this. You can have some clients preferring podcasts, and you can have some clients preferring reading blog posts, for example. So again,
absolutely, I completely understand that. But the fact that they would naturally perhaps prefer writing would mean that the majority of the content that they create naturally are articles to appear on other sites. And I'm wondering if that's the right way to do it, because that's what's natural to them, or we should actually encourage them to produce videos, produce podcasts, be guests on podcasts, as well as writing articles and other types of content.
I would always go for a mixture of things. I honestly think like a mixture of all mediums, or the majority of mediums, or whatever suits to the specific thing that we're trying to shout about as well. Because there might be a thing which will come across better in a podcast or in a video, or there might be something that maybe is better in a written piece of content. So I was going to say that the first place that's it's going to be easiest for anyone to shout about their achievements and how good they are, basically, it's going to be their blog or their social media accounts, right? Because that's like the easiest to start with. And then if there is a possibility to shout somewhere else without maybe sounding, I'm just thinking like PR, without sounding like too pushy and too much, then definitely if there's a possibility, then yes, definitely do this. I always kind of try to think and try to say whatever feels natural, but also whatever will feel natural to your audience as well, whatever kind of medium or channel is best consumed by your audience, because that will also vary. We won't have, even if like writing sounds most natural to me, if you're my audience and 10 other people will be my audience, we might have 10 different opinions. So that's why I always try to go for a mixture of things. I think that's the best that you can do, unless there is an specific industry that one form is consumed better than the other. Then obviously you can lean towards that one, but then I wouldn't forget the other forms as well.
So you shared what SEO should be doing in 2023. So now let's talk about what SEO shouldn't be doing. So what's something that's seductive in terms of time, but ultimately counterproductive? Something that SEO shouldn't be doing in 2023?
So I think they shouldn't be not following what I just said. But I
Love the
think
double negative.
I think we, as SEOs and maybe as a whole marketing industry, we tend to be kind of stuck in our old ways. It's a bit funny because we tend to be stuck in our old ways, but also, again, referring back to my tip from 2022, we tend to forget the basics. So like, let's say with SEO and websites example, we tend to not look really into like technical aspects or forgetting about putting any content out there, but then kind of refuse to build up the trust and build up the quality. We just be like, oh, I'll push up just this short blog post just for the sake of it. So we should be really trying to, without forgetting the basics, trying to move ahead with time. We shouldn't be so much stuck in our old ways that always worked for me. So I'm sure, regardless of anything, it doesn't show me that it works anymore. But I'll keep doing this. I've seen that happening quite a lot, and I think we should really learn kind of the golden somewhere rule, if you want to call it a rule, that don't forget the basics, but also don't be afraid to kind of move with time, and don't be afraid to. I think that's quite a big one as well. We kind of say this to our clients, but when it comes to actual work, we kind of like, so we know SEO takes time, right? And we always say to our clients that, well, at least, I don't know, 6 months, 12 months, whatever case we're dealing with. But then if we think about building up a proper blog or like a content hub, we're just like, oh, there's so much work. Oh, like this research, there's so much work. It will take time. I'm not saying that building the quality and trustworthy brands, as they call them, it's going to be very quick and overnight. But we have to kind of put the effort into it. As we're saying to our clients, it's going to take us time. And again, this is something that I've seen quite a lot, that, oh, we need to push out something. We need to do something. Let's just do something. And then we worry about it, later. So I think that should be something that is definitely going away in 2023.
Izabela Wisniewska is co-founder and head of search marketing at Creatus Media, and you can find her over at creatusmedia.co.uk. Izabela, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2023.
Thank you.
Get your copy of SEO in 2023, the book, over at seoin2023.com.